And good evening. I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
And we're the Scanner Guys, and we're live this evening from coast to coast and worldwide.
Yep.
Good evening to you, Rich. We are towards the end of the month. What are you dressing up as for Halloween?
I'm going to dress up as a scanner expert. I
Okay.
figure I can get away with that, and the wife will like that too. So.
That's for
I was going
sure.
to dress up. I was going to dress up as myself, but then Rexy said, "Ooh, oh, it's scary."
Yeah. So I'm not doing anything for Halloween. Actually, I'm going over to the North Carolina Transportation Museum on Friday night. They're having a haunted tour of the roundhouse there, and then 611 is going to be pulling the train. So there's a little train ride, and then you get off, and then you get a guided tour. So that should be fun.
So for those who aren't aware, 611 is the Norfolk and Western steam engine.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to be doing that on Friday night, and then we might go back on Saturday, so I can get some photos. They're going to have it operating there, so that should be interesting.
Cool. Well, I might try and get up to Flagstaff to do some rail fanning. So we'll see how it goes this weekend, if it's not too crazy.
Yeah. So this is the episode that everybody loves to see, and it's Ask the Scanner Guys. So it's the October 2020 edition. So we try to run this every month. Sometimes we name it Fun with the Scanner Guys or Ask the Scanner Guys. This time around it's Ask the Scanner Guys. So submit your questions. Submit your questions right now in the comments, and we would love to answer those questions throughout the show. And we have a little bit of a slideshow presentation, so we'll definitely bring that up as well. So let's see here. So let's take a look at the next slide here. We've got some email blasts that are coming out through Scannermaster. We're actually ramping up our email blasts throughout the holidays. I actually have, which I can't show you, but this piece of paper, on this piece of paper is the layout of every single email blast, which I'll be creating throughout the holiday season. So if you want to lay eyes on that, they're typically going out each and every Wednesday until Christmas. So definitely sign up for the Scannermaster newsletter. You can do that through the website at scannermaster.com. And as always, Scannermaster is a sponsor of the Scanner Guys. So, anytime that you're purchasing things through Scannermaster, you're supporting the Scanner Guys show to keep it going. So we appreciate that. We also have some news, which is the next slide, which I'll get to. I thought it was this slide. We're always looking for your stupid scanner tricks and your shack photos, whether it be a mobile shack or your home shack or your office shack or anywhere you shack. We're looking for photos. You can email them at thescannerguys@gmail.com. Thescannerguys@gmail.com.
Scanner Guys.
This is the slide we were trying to get to. So, Rich, we've got some really good news here. This has been out of stock for a while, right?
Yeah, for a long time. As everybody's aware, there's a little bit of a thing they call it a pandemic or something like that, COVID or something. There's stuff going on, and accessories and scanners and stuff have been sporadic in supply. So we've been out of stock on the GPS kit for a couple of months, I think it's been. And we finally got a good shipment of them in. They just arrived yesterday. And this is the GPS Universal Kit. It works with all Uniden GPS capable scanners. And there's a list of them there on the page. So this is now available at Scannermaster. We have plenty of them in stock. That should last us quite a bit. And if you go to our webpage or you go to Radio Reference in the Uniden Tech Forum, there is a PDF that explains exactly how this works and what each and every one of those parts are. So it looks kind of complicated, but once you get into it, it's actually pretty simple.
Yeah, and the other thing too with this is we do have a video that goes over every one of these parts too. So if you don't want to read it or look at pictures, you can see us talking about it, and we'll go through not only all the parts and how a GPS works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually is pretty cool. And especially if you have a zip code type scanner like an SDS, a Home Patrol, or a 536, 436, it really is great when you travel. You drive across the country, you let the GPS update your location, and it just follows it all the way across the country. And that stuff works anywhere in the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, it's certainly a great thing to have, especially mobily. I'm using a 536 with a GPS connected to it. Works great. I love it. And, it's certainly a great thing to have. So get your GPS on. It's finally back in stock, which is great.
Yeah, we've been waiting for these for a while, and a lot of you people have the notifications set up by email, so when something's out of stock. And if there's anything on our webpage that is out of stock that you want to be notified of when it arrives, there's always a little link on the bottom right next to where it says add to cart that allows you to put your email address in there, and then we will send you an automatic notification when that item comes back in stock. So I know a bunch of you have got the emails about this.
Yeah, and I'm sure with the things that are low quantities that come in, which we're getting parts and pieces of, that's why it goes out of stock so quickly, because people sign up for the notification and they order right away.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to be able to sign up for those notifications.
Yeah, we had that a few months ago when we were out of SDS 100s for a long time. We got a case of them. I think it was like 6 or 8 of them or something like that in a case. And we put them in stock, and they were gone within the hour. So it happens.
It certainly does. With the power of email, you can be notified within seconds of something coming back in the stock, and that's how our website basically works. As soon as we put in inventory, you will get that notification, which is great. So let's continue on here. So look at this. We're talking about powerful accessories. If anybody remembers the show Home Improvement with Tim the Tool Man Taylor, he was about more power. So we're going to cover some of those scanner accessories that give you more power one way or the other. So a little play on words tonight. If you're watching this broadcast for the first time, good evening and welcome. We hope that you join us each and every week. We do this live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So let's take a look at our first powerful accessory. Rich, we've both used this.
Yeah, the Scanner Blaster. And what a great name for a product. Mm-hmm. And it really, really works. You found out the other last week when you were out rail fanning, and I used it when I was out at an air show, and it really is a blaster for scanners. You plug it in the headphone jack of your handheld scanner, and you will not only be able to hear it, when there's a lot of noise, but everybody in the neighborhood will be able to hear it if you have the volume up loud.
Yeah. So there's a couple of tips with this.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you lower your volume down to 1 or 2. Yes, I said 1 or 2, not up to 15 on your unit and radios, down to 1 or 2. If you have it cranked all the way up, it's going to be overmodulated. It's going to sound horrible.
Yeah, and you're going to bust out your eardrums.
And it will blast at 1 or 2. So you want to start your volume there, adjust from there. Maybe you go up to 3 or 4, and that will be probably the extent of it. Yeah. The other thing, too, there's no shutoff switch on this. So if you're going to use it for the afternoon, couple hours, and you get the battery fully charged and it lasts about 8 hours or longer, the battery, take the battery out and then put the battery back in when you go to use it again.
Yeah, that we get people call, say, I plugged it in, I charged it all up, I used it all day, and everything was great. Then the next day, came back and the battery was dead. Well, it's because it just doesn't have a shutoff. This was really intended to be plugged into a charger whenever you're not using it. So when I'm using it all the time, I just leave a charger cord for it available on my desk, and I just plug it in when I get home, and that way it's always charged. You can leave it plugged in all the time to charge up. It's got a smart battery charger.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if you know that you're going to use it for a couple hours, like when I was out rail fanning, I knew, pop the battery out when I was done, and I knew I had another half day of battery on it. So I thought, hell, I'm just gonna unplug it. I mean, I was in one of those hotels where there was limited plugs.
Yeah,
I'm charging camera batteries, and I'm charging my video camera battery. So I'm using up all the.
Yeah. Well, you know what you should do is, and this is another great tip for scanner users, since almost everything charges with USB these days. Go out and get one of those universal USB chargers that has a whole bunch of USB ports. So you can charge your scanner blaster, your 436, your SDS, your cell phone, your earbuds, all that kind of stuff, all those USB powered devices, and you can charge them all at the same time.
Yes, and that's for sure. And since we're talking about power and Tim the Toolman Taylor, yes, we know Tim Allen is a ham radio operator. It's actually quite known and seen on the show Last Man Standing.
Yeah, Ham Shack.
Yeah, he's got a ham shack at home, and he's also got a ham shack in his office as well, which is pretty neat. It's right in the background in his office studio.
Okay, it looks. Lost you there.
Yeah, you're having some connection issues on your end, I think, Rich.
Okay, let me turn off some of my streaming stuff here.
But yeah, I mean, that looks like.
There we go.
I mean, that is really cool. Yet, I believe it became a ham. Was it after shooting Last Man Standing, or was it?
It was during. I think it was during the production of the show, or during the early part of the production of the show. It's a great show. Very funny show, and it is pretty. It is interesting. He's always got the ham shack with his QSL cards and everything in background. He's actually got two shacks. He's got one in the basement of the house that he shows, and he's got the one in his office at the store. So.
Yeah, and it's just really cool. So let's continue on. It looks like, September of 2014. Well, people are looking up when his license was activated, which,
well, that's about right, because he had the show's been on, I guess this is year 8 or 9 or something like that. So, so he would have gotten it during the show.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how many seasons there were. Here is another novelty thing, and this is for your STS 100. And I strongly recommend getting this because of the battery setup on an STS. So if you're going to be portable all day long and you're not able to plug in, get one of these rapid chargers. And with this rapid charger, it comes with an extra battery.
Yeah.
So you can have this extra battery on hand. When the battery starts to run low in your STS, you could swap it out. And then you'll have enough power for all day long. If you're running hard with your STS all day long and you're not able to plug in, this is definitely a great, great, great thing. And, definitely put this on your holiday Christmas list. If you don't have it and you have somebody asking, what do you want for Christmas? And you own the SDS 100, put this on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the full-size battery. So if you've got the obviously, if you got the full-size battery, we call it the Kardashian battery door. This is the full-size, same size as the one that comes with the radio.
Yes.
More power.
More power, that's for sure. I love this thing. I'm so excited when they actually came out with this, and it comes with the extra battery.
Yeah.
So, which is, you're getting the charger plus the extra battery. And this is.
And one question we get all the time is, can I buy the charger without the battery? But no, it only comes with the battery.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want the extra battery? I don't know.
But we get that people call and ask that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I definitely want the battery.
Yeah. And with the SDS, that's more important because it is about the only handheld scanner available these days that doesn't use AA batteries, and there are reasons for that, which is beyond the scope of today's show. But it is a proprietary battery, so you do want to have an extra battery if you're going to be out all day. And remember, the SDS does use USB for charging. So that's another USB device that and make sure you bring the USB cable if you want to charge a battery within the radio.
Yeah, most of all of our other radios, which we have very convenient, either take AA rechargeable batteries or alkaline batteries. So
Yep.
it's so easy when you're out and about all day long with your portable scanner with one of these. You can just buy a bunch of batteries and just throw them in. With the SDS, you need to have an extra battery to be able to go completely without any battery, without any power supply, whether it be in your vehicle or in your home or wherever you're traveling at. So this is definitely a good thing to get. Let's take a look at more power options.
More power.
So this, I like this. This is the Trinergy 4-in-1 battery charger. Now, I have one of these, and it comes with both the AC and DC. The other cool thing about this, this model, the photo on here, I believe is a little bit older. We got an updated version of this. You can actually, most of these chargers will either do like 4 or 2. With the newer one that's not photographed here, you can put in 3 batteries.
Oh, cool.
And it'll do 3 batteries. You don't need to put in the 4th battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which is really nice.
If you've got a 436, that'll work out well for you.
Yeah, for 3 batteries. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the other thing too, this comes with the set of rechargeable batteries. So so if you already have a set of rechargeable batteries, this comes with it. So you can definitely
and these are the 2500 milliamp batteries. So they are slightly better than the batteries that come with the radio.
Yeah, I know some of you out there, like using rechargeable batteries. Some people like the alkaline. I tend to use a lot of the alkaline because for the most part, I'm not on portable that long.
Yeah.
And I'll use the alkaline and last for a long time. But when I'm at, like Altoona, I'll have a whole bunch of alkaline batteries, so I can just keep swapping out throughout the day if needed. But yeah,
I do the same thing when I'm out at the airport or out rail fanning or walking around the mall. I'll grab a couple AA batteries and stick them in my pocket with my 325 or my 125, and works great.
Yeah, totally does. Let's continue on here. This is shared power. And I have one of these, and Rich also has one of these. And this is awesome, especially when you're limited on plugs.
Yeah.
I mean, typically I have 2 12 plug strips in the back of my desk. So I have 24 plugs, which is crazy.
Yeah. Then we're kind of weird. So.
Yes. I have monitors, I have scanners, I have an audio mixer, I have the Scanner Master phone. There's a lot of things that are being powered. Yeah. So I remember when you said that they were going to be shipping me one of these from the home office, and I was like, oh boy, that's gonna free up 3 plugs.
Yep.
And
and if you're running a stack of scanners, on the desk stand, this is ideal.
Yeah, you think of it. So the situation, let's say you've got one of those 3 stacks. So you can plug in your 3 radios, the unit and product line. Yep. Then you can also plug in, if you've got the multi-coupler nearby or attached to the stack, you literally can plug everything in on your stack on one plug.
Yep. Yeah, it works right. This has 4 plugs on it, and it's got a nice long cord for the outlet. So you're only using 1 outlet, and it's got enough power to power 4 scanners. So that's when we sourced this out. We made sure that the power supply could support 4 scanners, and it's great. Did I lose you again?
I don't know. It seems like I'm losing you on that end. I'm not too sure. It's okay. But yeah, there's 4 plugs, as Rich was saying, and it's long enough to be able to power power everything on your, let's say if you have one of those, those desk stands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good. I'm actually using mine. I have I built a four scanner rack, and it's powering all four of those radios in there, and I love it. I was like so thrilled when they said they were gonna, when Rich told me, oh, they're sending you one of these. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great because it's gonna free up some outlets, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And since then, I gained another monitor, so there goes one of the spared outlets.
You never have enough outlets, whether they're 12 volts or 120. So
That's for sure. So let's continue on with our power series. And well, that's it for power series.
That's it for power. That's all the power we got tonight, guys. So,
these are frequently asked questions, and these are a lot of things that we are asked, during the Scanner Guys shows, or things that come in through the Scanner Master support email. Yes, we read those and we answer those questions. So if you email support@scannermaster.com, we'll be able to help you out with any questions that you may have. And these are some of the typical questions that we get. Yes, number one is definitely something that I know that we get a lot of questions on, whether or not the home patrol has priority. Rich, does it?
No, it does not.
I would agree. There's no priority. I mean, the home patrol, we've talked about this a lot before.
Yeah.
It's simplified. So it's not going to have priority. It's not going to have all the features that are robust on your typical scanner, because this was, an answer for an entry-level person getting into the hobby, and they didn't want to overwhelm them with every single feature.
Yeah, and it also doesn't have things like close call. Exactly what you said. It's just simplify things, because another phone call, which we get all the time, which I didn't put in the list here, was I did a couple questions down. Is what close call is. They don't know what close call is. So let's skip a couple questions and go right to that one.
So you're talking about my scanner cuts out every 2 minutes, and how do I stop
every
that?
2 seconds? Yeah. So
every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I wish it was every 2 minutes. Every 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that's how close call works. And on a regular scanner, a 996, a P2, an XDS, whatever, close call will actually stop what it's doing and then check for activity every 2 seconds. You can also set it up to what's called close call do not disturb, where it will only check for activity when there's nothing else going on. But the problem with that is then you get like an FM radio station or a paging transmitter or something like that pop up on your scanner, and people like freak out. Well, that's not what I want. And then the other call we get on that is, what's that little diamond shaped icon with a C on it? And it's close call. Then you got to explain to them what close call is all about. And then how do you turn that off?
Yeah, it depends on the radio. A lot of it is just, a combination of either the squelch or volume button, depending on the radio tip. It's usually the squelch, or it could be let me just look. Yeah, it's usually the squelch. I'm looking at my radio. It's usually the squelch button. Pushing that in will jockey it in between do not disturb, close call, regular, which is going to interrupt the radio broadcast. Or it'll be off. So if you ever run into that, just look for the little close call logo. It's got the C in the middle. It looks like almost like a, like a compass type of thing. Like north, south, east, west, where it looks like, and then there's a C in the middle. The other thing that clips out audio, priority. If you got priority on, and the weather alert. Yeah, those are the three things. If you've got them on in the background and you're wondering, why the heck is this clipping out every 2 seconds? And that's what it is.
Yeah, and like we get that call all the time, and then 99% of the time it's, how do I turn that off and leave it off? So I actually love close call. I use it all the time. I've got a 996 in my car that all I do with it is close call, and I love it. But not everybody's crazy like me. So
Yeah, I use close call as well. When I
Yeah.
was traveling back from Altoona, I didn't have set up in the scanner. Usually, I set up a trucker search, with the channels. I
Mm-hmm.
was in a backup, so I ended up throwing close call on, and then sure enough, pop, I got the local truckers talking about what's going on ahead of me. So
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, I mean it's an awesome tool. And the other thing you can run with close call is you can have it running in the background while you're scanning, or you can just run close call just by itself,
Yeah.
and you can do that as well. So
Alrighty. So the next question.
we'll go back up the list now. How
All
do I
right.
program my scanner, the SDS 396, to have the light come on when I want it? And there's
Mm.
multiple colors too. You're not just one color.
Yeah. Well, depending on the scanner that you've got, yeah. So actually, I got this call today, and I got it Monday or Friday. I forget which day it was, from a different person. So, and the unit and scanners all do the same thing. Now, some of the scanners might be a little different. The exact button pushes, but basically, if you go into the menu and go to display options, and then you go to set backlight, then you set mode, and then go to squelch and set that to off. So that way it doesn't come on when the radio squelches or when the radio opens up and hear it. Or if you want to set it that way, you can. But people want to be able to just turn the light on and turn the light off. And that's the general thing that people ask about. So turn the squelch setting off, and then you go into back into the menu, and then go to the display options backlight, and then set it to key press off. And if you do that, when you press the power button, like on a SDS or a 325 or 436, it'll turn the light on. And when you press the power button, it'll turn the light off. Makes it really simple. And that's what I do. I have my light set up so it turns off, or that stays off until I press that power button. And then the light will just stay on until I press the power button again.
That's the same thing I do as well. Now, the thing that you want to keep in mind is, let's say you read your radio with the Sentinel software, especially with these SDSs.
Yeah.
So you read the radio, let's say you're reading from your portable. It's going to capture all those settings of that particular radio. Now, if you don't pay attention and you write the same profile to your portable, you're going to go bonkers with going from your portable to your desktop, especially on the SDS 200 with that big screen. You're going to be wondering why it's not on. So make sure, when you do that, you make sure that you go into on the SDS Sentinel software, you go in there and make sure you change the light setting or point it towards a particular radio that you want. I've had people do that before, and they're like, why is the backlight turning off on my my desktop radio? And it's it's probably settings that you carried over from the software.
Yeah, most people don't want the desktop radio displays to go dim or to turn off. They just want it portable one because you want to save your battery strength. So, and the desktop radios. Now, the Home Patrol has a neat feature, is that the display light will dim when there's nothing being heard, and then when it starts up again, and when there's traffic, the display will get a little bit brighter. So the light doesn't go off all the way. It just dims when there's nothing being heard after a couple seconds, and then it'll pop up with lighting when there's traffic, which I think is a pretty neat idea, especially if you got, I got 2 Home Patrols and a bunch of other scanners out here. Kind of helps me determine which radio is talking.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with me too. I mean, the other thing that I like on the Home Patrol radios is it does have, I know this is coming off topic, but it's similar to where we're at with the SDSs. It has an advanced feature which the radio will automatically turn off after a set period of time. So if you have like a Home Patrol 1 or Home Patrol 2 bedside, or any of these other Home Patrol type radios, there is a setting in there that you can put it to sleep. So let's say you like to listen to your radio, when you're in bed and your significant other is there. You don't want to get nudged at 3 o'clock in the morning. Turn your scanner off. You can set it to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long. And then in case you doze off, the radio will shut off after a period of time.
Yeah, my wife doesn't care too much about the scanner being on. She cares about the light.
Yes. Yeah, she knows it's on because of the light, which is interesting. So we're sticking with Sentinel, and we're also talking about ARC products. Now, this is a question we get a lot, and typically on the Mac side of things. A lot of people want software that operates on Mac, and unfortunately, Mac hasn't. Well, it's not that Mac hasn't embraced it; it's someone hasn't developed software to operate on Mac.
Right. Yeah. Most scanner software is written for Windows just because there's a much higher penetration of Windows computers in there compared to Macintosh. Now, you and I are both Mac people, and I would love for Sentinel or other products to run natively on a Mac. But unfortunately, the reality is it ain't going to happen. And the other people, so many people these days that their only computing device is their smartphone or their iPad. And same thing. These products will work on a Windows computer. They will not work on an iPad. They won't work on an iPhone or an Android or a Mac. Now, with the Mac, there's a caveat. I do run all of my programming software on my Mac, and it works great. I use a program called Parallels. There's also Fusion and Boot Camp. And that will allow you to run Windows programs on your Mac. Boot Camp is free, but you still need to get a copy of Windows. But Parallels and Fusion, when you install those, it automatically can install Windows 10 and includes the install file for Windows 10. It just wouldn't be registered. So you can register Windows 10, or the products will still work. Even if you don't register Windows 10, you're just going to get that Nagware message popping up. And that will allow you to run these products. And it works very well. The one thing to do is make sure you have a lot of RAM. Because these Windows programs are kind of a RAM. Windows itself is kind of a RAM hog. So at least 8 gigs of RAM at the bare minimum if you're not doing other stuff. 16 is better. 32 is really good.
And that's like a whole broadcast. We can talk about Mac and scanners and all that as well. So we covered already. My scanner cuts out every 2 minutes. How do I stop that? We covered that. This is another hot button question that we get all the time. My local police went to an encrypted system. How do I program that into my scanner? Well, you can program it. You're not going to be able to hear anything because that's why they're encrypted. So people with scanners can't hear it. You can program it in. You won't hear anything. That's the end all of being able to monitor it. No, you won't be able to ever hear it. Encryption on a scanner.
Oh, you can hear it. You just won't be able to understand it.
Yes.
All you're going to hear is a distorted voice or digital noise. Yeah. So, unfortunately, there's no way around an encrypted system. If they're encrypted, unfortunately, that's pretty much endgame.
That's for sure. So let's go to the next slide here. Oh, viewer.
You went too far. You went too far.
Yeah, there's one other one.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So I have the Radio Shack. Well, I don't have, but typically they'll ask. They have the Radio Shack Pro 18 or the Pro 668. Will these work on DMR systems? They will with an upgrade, right?
Right. So Whistler will update the Radio Shack Pro 18 and 668, and I guess send it in, and I think it's like $69.95 plus shipping, and they will upgrade those to make it effectively a WS1080, and it will work then on DMR systems. Plus, it'll work with the more current Whistler software, which is up to date, and it works much better than the old Radio Shack software, if you can even get a hold of the old Radio Shack software. So basically, it just updates the radio to a WS1080. And the reason why we mentioned that here is because if you ever then want us to program it, we can program the WS1080 with the SD card update.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do these radios directly. So if they're upgraded, we can do the programming. But it does also give you DMR capabilities, which is great.
All right. Another hot button question that we get. I have the ARC blah, 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 software.
Mm-hmm.
The program says time restricted demo and it's not working fully. How do I fix that? This is something that, we get a lot. You purchase the software as a download or you purchase it on CD. So you go to install it on your computer.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is it'll pop up time restricted demo. And then it'll basically time out on you. So when you purchase the software on CD, inside the jacket of the CD case is a key 1 and key 2. So what you'll do is you go up to the help tab, you'll enter in key 1 and key 2, hit OK, restart the software, and you get the full version. As long as you enter in the key correctly.
Yeah.
Now, for downloads, how does that work? So what you're going to do is you're going to download off of scannermaster.com or Butel's website the demo version of the software. This kind of gives you like a test drive of the software. So when you purchase it, whether through Butel or through ScannerMaster as a download, you'll receive a product key via email. So you want to make sure that the email address that you put in, whether you're purchasing it on either website, is correct, because that's how you're going to get the key. So what'll happen is you will go to the help tab. Once you've installed the software, it'll say time restricted demo. Go up to the help tab, enter in key 1 and key 2, and you'll be right on business. Now, the other question that we get along with this, we have a couple of softwares that have a pro version and a basic version. Mm-hmm. Make sure you download the correct software. So if you have ARC XT Basic, make sure you download ARC XT Basic. If you purchase ARC XT Pro, make sure you download that, because guess what? Those keys are not interchangeable. They are pertaining to one software or the other. So make sure you download the right software, because that's the other question we get. I downloaded the software, I've entered in the keys, and it still says time restricted demo. And I said, well, then I'm looking at their order and I say, okay, did you download the basic version or did you download the pro version? And then they tell me, well, I don't know. And then I tell them, all right, go to the help tab, to the about, and then it's going to tell you what version. And then that's how you'd be able to determine what version. And if you have downloaded the wrong version, uninstall the version that you don't, because it will get confusing. You'll just click on ARC XT, not realizing it's the pro or the basic, whatever you do own, and you'll be in the same predicament again. So make sure you uninstall the one you don't need.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure, and that is a great tip on that, because that happens quite a bit. People don't understand the difference between pro and basic on that. So
yeah, and the difference is basically if you're looking to do just programming through the software, the basic is perfect. If you want the bells and whistles of the pro version, data logging, recording capability, virtual screen, the list goes on. If you're looking for the bells and whistles, do the pro version. If you think that you may use some of those features down the road, buy the pro version. Because what'll happen is if you buy the basic version and then you find out, oh, geez, I wish I bought the pro version, you're going to have to buy the pro version in order to get all those features. There's no upgrade, charge to go from one to the other. It's either basic or pro. Yeah,
exactly. You have to pay the full bolt on it if you want to update from one to the other.
So we've got another thing that typically hangs up people, and this is with purchasing, yet again, a key. I've tried to enter in my code to add DMR Next Edge Pro Voice to upgrade my scanner, and it says it's the wrong number. How come? This is a very important thing. You have to make sure, one, that you're typing in the key correctly, and two, you're putting it in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah. The DMR, NXDN, and Pro Voice keys are unique to each other and to the radio that they were purchased for. So if you've got multiple radios and you buy one DMR key, it's going to work only on the radio that you bought it for and only for DMR. So they are separate updates, and if you've got multiple radios, you have to buy that product key, and the key is going to be different for each radio.
Yeah, because when you do purchase these keys, you're going to provide your radio's electronic serial number. So that key is going to be generated based on that serial number of that radio. So you can't take the key and bring it over to another radio. That belongs to that radio. So if you go and sell the radio to a friend or a friend of yours, they're getting a radio with DMR.
Yep.
Regardless.
Yeah. And we had a customer today who bought a radio from us or bought a radio, SDS radio, and then he bought the DMR key, and he sent the radio in for warranty repair, and they replaced the radio and sent it back, and it didn't have DMR in it. So we provided him with the receipt showing that they bought the DMR for his original radio, and then he's going to have to contact unit and support so they can get a DMR key for his new radio without paying for that second one, because they did exchange the radios.
Yeah, so that's definitely key. If you have any warranty work, you want to make sure that you note that before you send it in case they do replace the radio, and then you can kind of avoid all the all the getting the receipts and so on. They'll know, okay, so this radio has DMR, and they'll be able to confirm it. The radio techs are able to turn the radio on. They'll be able to say, or they'll be able to look through their master list, and they'll be able to say, yep, this customer has DMR or Next Edge or Pro Voice or all three. So that's really cool. And Rich, we got one last question that you normally get.
Okay, who is buried in Grant's tomb? All right, so the first correct answer, we will give you a shout out.
All right.
So in the meanwhile, while we're waiting for that, we do have some listener questions. You want to do those now, or you want to do that in the next section?
Let's while they're thinking about that question, let's do a couple now. So where are we rolling back to?
All right, well, let's go to 502 at 2 minutes after the very first question. And we got an answer.
Oh, let's go to that first.
All right. So Joe has got the answer correct.
Joe M, I'm guessing.
Yes. There actually is nobody buried in Grant's tomb.
Well, congratulations, Joe.
President Grant and his wife are in there, but they are not buried. They're in sarcophaguses above ground, and it's a big building. And there's a tomb in New York City. So there is nobody buried in Grant's tomb.
This was a play on words, because the key word there is buried, which is nobody's buried in it. They're in the tomb.
That's right. So
did you see this?
Elvis. Yeah. Well, he could be there too. Yeah.
And then we got
we
got Grant.
Yeah. So back in 1890, so whatever year it was that Grant died, they are already starting the conspiracy to bury Elvis from 100 years in the future. So,
oh man!
All right. There's a question from Joe. He wants the link for the Monday train show. We will be announcing that one this evening.
Oh yeah. We need to. I need to create that. So where is let's see.
So while you're working on that, I will do a couple more questions.
Well, I can't work on it because I'm in the system.
In the presentation mode.
I can't. I could, but I'll take us off the air.
Well, go to the Train Aficionado YouTube page, and it'll be there.
Yeah, just subscribe to it. It hasn't been created as of yet, I don't think.
Yeah. So we will have that for you, and we will get a link out. And we'll put it on the Scanner Guys page too, right?
Yeah. Let me just take a look to see if...
All right. Well, you're working on that. Steve asks, when he's fishing, download the software to his Home Patrol 2, how can you tell if there's a change? So when you do a Sentinel update to the Home Patrol 2, you can update the database and you can reprogram your favorites lists. There is a method to go in on your Home Patrol or any of the Uniden scanners with a database to see what the database version date. On the Home Patrol, which I'm doing it now, you press the menu button, then advanced menu, and then the little down arrow button, and then version information. And then that'll tell you the database version date. If you did that recently, it should show the previous Sunday's date because that's when those databases are updated. If it shows a date prior to the previous Sunday, then you probably there should be a database update for you. Remember, when you are using Sentinel and you update your database, that does not automatically update the favorites lists. So those favorites lists are done automatic or manually by you when you are using Sentinel.
And the other thing to note, and we have gotten these questions before, somebody updates the database on the Sentinel software and is wondering why it's not on their radio because you haven't wrote it to the radio. Yes, updated it in the software, but it's got to get to your radio.
Well, see, that's the difference. When you update the firmware on a Uniden scanner, on a zip code scanner, it does automatically write it to the radio right away, but it doesn't do the database or any of the favorites.
Correct. Yeah, so you have to force that in.
Yep. The next question came at 24 after from Ani645. He says, do you guys think that some encrypted channels will get decrypted from future with future laws passing, or there's some sort of tech or workaround encryption? So the first part of that, good.
I think we will see some as things start to change, and maybe with some education to some of the radio users, particularly the decision makers. In order to have transparency with all the civil unrest that's going on, you may see some encryption be turned off on the dispatch channels, but there's still going to be encryptions on the other channels. The thing I think that a lot of police chiefs or people that are up in charge, think they can only have it one way or the other. It's either encryption all the way or wide open all the way. I mean, with a trunk system, which most agencies are on now, they can have their dispatch channel in the clear. They can have their secondary channel encrypted. It's as simple as that. It's just a flip of a button, and you can be encrypted, in case you have to be, and you can be in the clear for transparency on the other channel. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's a lot of the issue. I mean, Rich, you told me about one department that's kind of backwards. They're wide open on their tactical and they're encrypted on their day-to-day operations, which
that's goofy. I don't know why they probably they don't know, and I'm not going to tell them because I like to listen to the tech operations.
So, but, I mean, it should be flipped the other way around, but not the way it is.
Well, staying with that, there are people that are pushing for more police transparency. So you might see some, pushback on that. And then Will later on, and it was, I'll have to look back and define that the time, he mentioned that there was a thread on Radio Reference. He did at 5:36. He posted that there was a post on Radio Reference about some guy who sued his county. And then the sheriff gave him permission to get a handheld radio and put an encryption key in his radio. And then he follows up. He bought the handheld. It was opened up for him for only for the main channels, not the attack channels. And so that was in the Radio Reference forum. So my guess is that he sued, and rather than fight it, they probably just settled on, okay, great, we'll give you a radio with the encryption, because even with
cheaper that way.
Yeah, it's cheaper that way than to fight the lawsuit. The thing is if they would have fought the lawsuit, they most likely would have won, because even Freedom of Information Act or Sunshine Act cases, they do not require them to provide information in real time. Yeah, you can get copies of the tapes. That is, that is going to be your right to get copies of the tapes. But they have, depending on the state, a certain amount of time in order to provide that. There's no rules or laws that says they have to provide that to you real time. So they probably did that as either a goodwill or as a, okay, fine, here you go, get out of it. And now it doesn't cost the sheriff's department any money because this guy bought the radio. All they had to do was program the encryption key on it, and they only gave him the dispatch channels, which is a reasonable accommodation to that. A lot of agencies do that for their local media, and and if that's the case, more power to you. But I see that as the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, I mean, with the technology that they have now, I really think that they could have the day-to-day operations in the open, and they do have the encryption capability on these other channels, if they need it. I feel like that's my thoughts on it. But unfortunately, if you're in an area where they are using encryption, there's other things to listen to there. You don't have to be totally hung up on that. A lot of times the fire departments are going to be in the clear. You can get into different aspects of this hobby, such as monitoring aviation, railroads, businesses. I mean, there's tons of things that you can still monitor on your scanner. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You just have to get a little bit more creative with it. And monitoring your fire department is definitely going to still give you an indication of what's going on in your community. Whether it be a shooting or an accident, they're going to roll on scene. And then you're going to know, they have a victim of a shooting or whatever, because it's going to be dispatched. So you're still going to know, what's going on in your community. Granted, it's not the police department end of things, but you'll still be able to get some background on what's going on the fire department end.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Joe mentioned at 51, giving them radio is the path of least resistance and lowest cost. So yeah, that was the easy out for everybody involved. It made the citizen happy, kept the sheriff, protected, if you will, what have you. So they can still go to their TAC channels if they have to order their coffee and donuts. So
coffee and donuts.
I tell you what, when we had encrypted radios before I retired, that's what we used them for more than anything else. Of course, then again, I worked in Mayberry, so
I go over to TAC 1. All right, what do you want? Do you want the usual, the black coffee? What do you want for muffin or donut?
Yeah. Do you want glazed or?
I heard they got this Halloween donut that's available. Do you want that?
Oh, I tell you what, I've been jonesing for a Krispy Kreme recently, and the only Krispy Kreme's an hour and a half drive from here, and I'm thinking, I'll drive an hour and a half for a Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, and you know what will make it even better if the light is on that they're warm.
Oh man! There's nothing better than a hot Krispy Kreme donut.
Yeah.
So I found out you can put them in the microwave, and that'll almost make it as good. So, all righty. So Ira at 29, he's in Detroit. Sorry to hear that. And on the SDS, there's a settings for set filter, global, normal, invert, auto, wide, normal, wide, invert, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
What the heck is that? So I'll let you go with this one.
A lot of these filters were put on the SDS 100 and 200 for us beta testers to be able to try it out. Sometimes, you see a difference, and sometimes you don't. Yep. So with this, if you're monitoring a system and it's not working so well, try it. If it don't work, go back to the other setting. That's
basically it. That's basically it. It's trial and error. Try to see. Yeah.
That's what we did in the beta test group. I remember. And we said, well, all right, we went to this and it really didn't do anything.
Yeah. There is some science behind the magic with those filters, but basically it's just try it, find the one that's going to work best for you on that particular system. And if you got multiple systems in your area, that may not work very well on another system.
Yeah.
So
I remember
Yeah.
getting the message on the beta test group that we've got all these. I'm like, what the frick is this?
Yeah. What? Okay, boss. What do they do? Well, I don't know. Just try them and see how they work, and that's
Yes,
pretty
that was
much.
basically it. We were just
Yeah.
sitting there. All right, we'll try it on this, try it on that.
Yeah. So basically, it's what they are. They're P25 filters, and they're basically just different settings for the filters within the radio. Since it is built around an SDR, all that is just it's just control settings, and it allows you to alter the settings, and you find the one that works the best, and go from there.
Yeah.
All right, another question from another Joe says on the SDS radios, the detail screen, what are the noise and RSSI lines? So again, well, the noise is for P25, and that is a relative number. So the higher the number, the higher the noise level, and the lower the number, the lower the noise level. And the RSSI is the received signal strength indication. So it's a relative strength of the signal, and it's in minus dB. So the higher the dB number, the better, the better the signal. So you've got the signal bar indicator, and then the received signal strength indication. It's basically just a relative it's not calibrated. It's uncalibrated.
Yeah, so it's uncalibrated, signal volume, not volume, but it's for the signal there. It looks like we lost. I think we lost Rich. There you are. We got you. You after that.
Yeah. Must be, you know what? Actually, the president is in town here, so I wonder if there is a lot of internet access around here. So
hey,
he's only a few miles away, or at least he was. I don't know if he still is. So
he's sucking up all the bandwidth.
Yeah, no, well, it could be that there's a lot of people that are watching it and stuff like that. So
you were literally, I'm not too sure if our audience are, but you were literally like stuck in position. Yeah. So let me see. So you were mentioning about the noise level.
Yeah.
It's not calibrated.
Yeah, it's not calibrated. It's an uncalibrated signal strength indicator, the RSSI. Same thing with the signal bars that you see on your phone or on the scanners and stuff like that. It's just a relative signal strength indicator that, 2 bars is better than 3, or 2 bars is better than 1. 4 bars is better than 3. So, and the same thing with the RSSI. A higher RSSI number means you have a stronger signal. And again, it's not calibrated. It's not like a signal generator where there's actual calibration. You can measure it. It's just bigger is better.
Yes, bigger is better.
So,
all righty.
So let's see here. The noise, like Joe followed up on that too. Yeah, it's the noise ratio. So, that's it's the noise ratio, not the noise level. Mylan asks, are a lot of police encrypted, or is that unusual or rare? It depends on where you are.
Yeah, take for instance Washington D.C. Washington D.C. police, D.C. fire is all encrypted. You go up to Maine, for example, everything is in the wide open. North Carolina, there's a lot of stuff that's wide open. I'm familiar with the Viper system and the system around Charlotte. It just depends. And also, it's like we kind of hinted earlier, it's whoever's in charge of the department will kind of dictate, whether how much transparency they want.
Right.
And then, they may have a ton of transparency, and they may have a few channels that may be encrypted, or they go the extreme and they encrypt everything.
Yeah. Well, when I bought my house 5 or 6 years ago, out here, one of the things I looked at was whether or not it's going to be able to monitor the local police department, and they were open, and I was listening to them. And then we moved into the house on Monday, and that Wednesday or Thursday they went encrypted, and it was like, oof.
Well, you know what happened to me? So the county that I'm in North Carolina, it's on a regional trunk system.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at frequencies locally just to see what I could hear in this little hole in the wall town. And literally, it is a hole in the wall town, apparently full of corruption, from what I've learned. People that were making $50,000-$60,000 that are paid positions for the town gave themselves pay increases well over in the six-figure range. So they went from 50,000 to 60 to $200,000. So it kind of makes sense now. So I moved in here. It was once I moved in here, for whatever reason, the highway department went encrypted. And I was wondering, why the hell did the highway department go encrypted? Then I slowly learned that all the corruption and everything that's going on in the town, apparently from what I've learned from insiders, they weren't right. You know how you worked in the police department, you had to write a PO for everything? Not here. Willy-nilly, spend all the money and not show it.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, that was another thing that was kind of frustrating. I figured, oh, good, I'll get a local angle, be able to hear some local stuff that's going on in the town versus the regional dispatching. And that kind of, I mean, at least I'm able to hear the public safety aspect, but it's head scratching when it comes to the DPW.
Yeah, there is that. Sometimes they use encryption to hide their inadequacies or that kind of stuff. And sometimes they're sold a bundle of goods by a vendor, or they just, they caught some guy with a scanner or something like that. It could be a million different reasons why. But unfortunately, once they do, there's nothing you can do about it.
It was in the clear before I moved here because I checked that.
Well, see, you move there and they go scramble. I move here, they went scramble. It's like we're the scanner guys. That's what they do. So that's why you don't want to live next to us, because then your police department's going to go.
No, don't say police department. Mine is not. So don't put that out there. Don't put
your highway department. Yeah. All right. So Mylan asks, what's the easiest way to tell when his police frequency goes digital? And Joe had a great response to it right after that. So he says basically just listen to the frequency without PL tone. And if you hear digital data, that's going to be a good clue. So you betcha. So when program the frequency with no PL tone or DPL code or whatever, and if you hear this digital thing and like a little beep at the end, that means that they've probably gone digital.
Or the other thing, if they're in the process of going digital on that frequency, the other thing that you can do is reprogram that frequency into your scanner. Typically, when you program it in for analog, it's going to be in the analog mode. So what you want to do is program that frequency to receive all. So in case they're tossing back and forth in between digital and analog, within the transition, you're not missing anything. Yeah. Or the other thing too is you can program the frequency in twice. Yeah. Once with the PL tone, and then again in digital mode with the NAT code.
Right. And if you're in the first mode where you have it set to receive all, you will notice a difference in the audio. When you're listening to something analog, it sounds like it's radio. There's little background hiss, there's some static here and there, there's artifacts in it. When you listen to it in digital, all of a sudden you're looking around, wait a minute, where is that guy? They're in the room with you. It's because you don't hear those artifacts in the background that make you understand that you're listening to a radio channel. That confused the hell out of my dispatchers when we put the digital radio in the radio room, because now all of a sudden they're like, and I saw them do that. I saw them look around when the digital radio popped up. It's like, they're trying to find out who walked in.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really interesting. I noticed when a lot of departments, they used to have the TV on in the background in the dispatch room. Yeah. And depending on how their mic setup was, you could hear it in the background when it was analog. And then when it switched to digital, depending on how their mic setup was, you could hear the dispatcher, and you could also hear whoever was on the TV as well. So they were watching the evening news or whatever it may be, you could hear it, or Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
You know what it was.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had that's why a lot of our guys would turn the volume down on the TV and turn on the closed caption. And, that way they can do that. And or you'd be, they had the football game on in the radio room when you can hear the yes after the touchdown.
Yeah.
In the background. So let's see here. Trying to skip through a lot of the comments, looking for the questions. And Chris at 22 after mentioned that they could have had a double A pack for the SDS 100. 6 double A's in a series parallel would give enough current to run the radio. Yeah, that was discussed during the development of the radio, but unfortunately, that would not provide a long enough service life to run the radio for a long enough time to make that practical. And then there were some size issues and engineering issues as well. So that's why they ended up with the battery pack they did. Yeah, there is a lot of room in here, but the engineering involved to make that work with double A's and to have double A's, enough double A's in there with enough current, it just wasn't practical at the time. So let's see here. We did that one. We did that. One of the answers to the question we were talking about earlier was to put quick monitor mode on a radio channel. We were talking about when your local town is gone encrypted. That's a great hint. You can at 42 after Joe mentioned you can put the VFO mode. So on a unit and scanner, you can press the hold button or the manual button, depending on which type of scanner you have. Then type in the frequency and then hit the hold button or the channel button, and it will just bring the radio right to that channel. And it's a great thing. If I want to listen to a channel real quick, I just do that. I press the channel button or the hold button, type in the frequency, and then press the channel or the hold button again, and it brings me right to that frequency without any PL tone, without any analog or digital mode set up on it. It just, boom, just brings you right to it. All right, at 43, Anthony wrote, what's DMR? DMR is digital mobile radio, and it is a digital format that, we have P25 for a lot of police departments. DMR is very common for businesses, hospitals, securities, shopping malls, and that kind of stuff. A lot of ham radio operators use DMR these days. So if you need DMR, get it. There are some police and fire departments and highway departments and stuff that are using DMR as well, but most of the users are business.
Yeah, and you'll see some of the highway departments are using it just because it's a lower cost than a P25 system. Yeah. P25 systems are like the Cadillac of type of digital systems. So they have all the bells and whistles, and then DMR is not as beefed up with all the technology, but it's going to suffice for the digital format.
Yeah,
and
and you can get the radios cheap.
Mm-hmm, yes, and that's the other thing. You're looking at anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, a piece for a P25 radio. You can pick up a DMR radio for a lot less.
We before I retired, we were replacing some of the analog radio for our public works department. It was actually cheaper for us to buy DMR radios and program those in analog mode than it was to buy analog radios. So at 44, whoever CU Images on an SDS 200 is using GPS better than using a zip code.
Yes, for traveling, yes.
Yeah.
Just think of it. You're going to be traveling. Let's say you're on the highway going about 60, 70 miles an hour. Do you really want to be putting in zip codes every so often? I mean, of course, you can increase the radius around the zip code. You can do a 10, 20-mile radius, but you're going to get clobbered with so many things, distant signals. You're going to be clobbered with stuff. With the GPS, yes, you are able to listen to your radio during a road trip. I used it when I traveled up to Altoona, Pennsylvania. Worked great. So what I did is I actually created a favorites list with just the state police or highway patrols in between North Carolina and Altoona. And then I was able to monitor everything that was going on the highway. So I'd be able to hear all the communication as I was traveling. You could do the same thing with public safety. When I was commuting back and forth to work, I had a favorites list that was created for my commute. So I would cherry pick, the cities and towns that I wanted to monitor along my route.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would just program that into a favorites list, let the GPS turn things on and off. When I was living in Attleboro, Massachusetts, it defaulted, I think, to a 5-mile radius. I bumped that out so I would be able to get that signal on the fringe. So I did it about 10 miles so I could monitor my hometown a little bit further. And I went in and adjusted the GPS settings in the software to do that. But yeah, GPS is the way to go. If you're using any of these radios in the vehicle, it's a win-win.
Yeah, if you're at home, there's no point in getting a GPS. But in your vehicle, especially if you're like an RVer or a truck driver or just drive across the country, or like I say, in your daily commute, GPS works great.
Yes, totally.
Mylan says he's got a Pro 197. And he wonders if it's still usable for today's digital stuff. So that depends on where you are. If they're using Phase 1 digital, and then his follow-up on that was that it was Pro 197. If they're using P25 Phase 1, the Pro 197 works great. If they're using any other digital format other than P25 Phase 1, then it's time to upgrade. So if they've gone Phase 2, if they're using DMR, if they're using NXDN or Pro Voice, then it's time to upgrade to a newer scanner. But Phase 1, and we still sell the Pro 197, but it's called the Whistler WS1065. And we sell a lot of them, and they work great in a lot of areas. It's just that if they, it's got to have a limited shelf life because it only does Phase 1. Carmen said that he was surprised that we said that Elvis died. He said he saw him last week with Jim Morrison.
Wow.
And you know who Jim Morrison is, don't you?
Yeah.
Of the Doors? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Elvis is not dead. He just went home. Yeah. If you're a Men in Black fan, you would know that.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Moving on. So Milo followed up. He says he's just going to go with the Home Patrol 2 and be safe. That's probably not a bad idea if you're not sure if they're using Phase 1 or Phase 2. And if they're using Phase 1 now, they could very easily go to Phase 2 tomorrow. So and remember, a Phase 2 scanner also works on Phase 1.
Yeah, and if there's not any simulcast issues, the Home Patrol the Home Patrol 2 is certainly a good radio to go to. I like that radio. That's a radio that I have on my nightstand in the bedroom because it's got the touchscreen display. It's perfect, perfect size. It's small, compact. And the other thing, like I mentioned at the beginning or towards the beginning of the broadcast, is that is to be able to set it to go to sleep on its own. So I'm not elbowed, at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Can you turn that off?
I have a much greater appreciation for the Home Patrol now than I did when it first came out. Of course, it really wasn't intended for me, but now that I see a lot of the stuff it does, it's like, wow, it's pretty cool, even for a guy like me. So, let's see here. Joe mentioned at 47 that some areas have reverted from encryption to the clear. This is back when we were talking about encryption earlier. That may continue down the road. Especially nowadays with all the turmoil going on. There's a lot of call for transparency for police departments. So you may see more agencies going from encryption back to the clear, or it could go the other way, depending on things. I've seen more agencies go to encryption since this, unrest started. Then go the other way around, but you never know what's going to come down the road. There have been.
Go ahead. Sorry,
sorry about that. There have been a couple people advocating for sunshine laws to prohibit day-to-day operations from being encrypted, but they haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out since Dale is not watching us right now. He's listening to us as he's driving to the hotel. So Safe travels, Dale. I saw that, snow is on the ground there. Have you seen some of those photos? Yes, snow.
Snow.
Yes.
Actually, it was cold this morning. It was 55 when I got up this morning.
Dear, 55, Rich. Oh.
Oh, and I went out walking, and I about froze my toes off. And it's like,
I'm still happy with 55. I'll take that any day of the week.
Well, when you're used to 110, it's like, your blood gets thin when you're out here in the desert. So Dale, be safe, buddy.
So my daughter sent me. I'm not too sure. You probably can see it there. So she sent me her car, and I said, boy, the car's. I was just kidding with her in text message. I said, your car's dirty. You should get that washed. And then I said, why is there all that dust on your car? And so they just
3 inches of white dust. Yeah. She's
in Burlington, Vermont, so they just had some snow flurries up there. So it's crazy. I've got, this will be the second winter in North Carolina. And to be honest with you, I don't miss it. I don't miss it. No.
No, I've been back to Chicago twice in December since I moved here to Phoenix. And both times there was snow on the ground. And I'm like, it's fun to visit, but then I knew I was going to go home and come back to it. But of course, now that it was 55 here today, and it only got up to about 65 today. But next week it's going to be 94 again. So,
and then the other thing, I don't miss being all bundled up. That's the other thing. I don't miss having the multiple layers on or the heavy winter coat and all that.
To stand up and walk outside without having to
bundle up. I mean, even at 55 or even in the 40s, you can run out there real quick, get the mail or whatever, and you're fine. Down there, like up northeast or where it's colder, and where Dale is and Montana, you got to dress up to go to the mailbox because you're going to freeze your butt off, trying to go out to get the mail.
Well, at least we hope he's got indoor plumbing. My wife, when she was a kid, you actually had to put a coat and shoes on to go to the bathroom. So, they didn't have inside plumbing in her place.
And I'm sure the thing is they didn't spend too much time on the can, because it was cold.
Hit and run.
Yep.
Yeah. So John at 49 says, what's our input on the Jim M75 preamp?
This has been a question with multiple people asking. Yeah. I've used it. It's okay. There was another preamp that I liked that Scanner Master carried, which I can't remember what the model is. It's been discontinued. I like that one better. And I actually had it in the truck. I wired up a preamp in the truck. It cleaned up some railroad frequencies. It made the audio come in a little bit better. With preamps, as Rich has mentioned last week, it's best to have those by the antenna if possible. Yeah. With the Jim, it's got multiple settings where you're able to adjust it. Know where the radio is a good thing to test any preamp on. Because typically without a preamp, how many weather stations you're able to get. And which one's weak and which one's kind of booming in and one's okay. Yeah. Put the preamp on, try it with it, and see if you're getting improvement across those multiple channels. And then whether or not it's made an improvement. With preamps, it depends. It depends on your setup. It depends on the scanner. With an SDS 100 or 200, you don't want to run a preamp. It's already sensitive enough. If you're on the Whistler or Radio Shack end of things, those have pretty good sensitivity. You don't want to run a preamp on that. You're going to have overload.
Yeah. And if you're in a city area, you probably don't want a preamp because the noise floor is too high and you're just going to overload the radio. If you're out in the country like where I'm at, I'm out in the middle of the desert. Preamp actually works pretty well for me here. But as soon as I get into town, forget it.
Yeah. Especially in New York City. I mean, there's tons of RF interference. And if you're not running PL tone, you're going to have a crap storm of PL tone nightmare. Not PL tone, but RF interference.
RF nightmare. Yeah, you're going to get intermod. You're going to get pager noise and digital hash. It's just going to be a preamp is probably going to be too much for you. So
yeah, definitely like in the rural areas is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were talking about Krispy Kreme earlier. Carmen writes that Krispy Kreme offers something sweet to citizens to celebrate Election Day. I read about that. Apparently, they're going to give free donuts to people that voted on Election Day. I voted 2 weeks ago, so so maybe I should go in and get my donut now.
I voted. What was it, last week or the previous week? So make sure no matter who you're sitting with, whatever party, go and vote.
Yeah,
I mean, this
absolutely.
this is going to be one for the books. The amount of people that are going out and vote. And you know what? If you vote, whether or not your guy or gal doesn't get in, you did your part. Don't be one of those people that complain about whoever's in office and then it comes up in conversation. Did you vote? No, I didn't vote. Yeah. Don't be one of those.
My vote's not going to matter. Yeah, it does.
No, it does matter.
Absolutely. So, and if you're in Chicago, vote early and vote often.
Vote early, vote often.
And we were talking earlier. Apparently, about 20 minutes ago, the president was reported to be 29,000 feet over Texas. So apparently, he's left Arizona and is headed east. And Steve mentions that the president's coming into a rally someplace in Pennsylvania, about 5 miles away from you. So whenever the president comes into town or the vice president, there is going to be a lot of radio stuff to listen to. Most of the Secret Service stuff, obviously, is going to be encrypted, and a lot of your police channels may be encrypted. But there are so many other things to listen to. Aviation channels are not encrypted, and Air Force One uses the same frequencies that any civilian aircraft will use, the same control tower channel and the same tower departure and approach channels and sector channels and stuff like that. They identify as Air Force One when the president's on board, or SAM or SAM something when the president is not on board the aircraft. But to hear Air Force One on the scanner is so cool. Whether you like the guy or not, just to hear Air Force One on the scanner is cool. So if the president is coming into town, listen up for that. And if the president's coming to town, there's going to be a lot of extra activity a couple of days before and the next day as well, as they bring in the C-17s with the limos and the support vehicles and the helicopters and all the rest of this stuff. There's a lot more radio activity going on whenever you have the president in town. Let's see here. Basic computer knowledge is required in this hobby. Yeah. If you don't have a computer and you want to be really involved with scanners, then you're probably going to want to get a computer. Let's see here. A little clarification on our RSSI numbers. RSSI is typically displayed in negative numbers. So Joe wrote this at 59 after. So a RSSI of minus 96 is better than an RSSI of minus 99. So it is still a minus 96 is a larger number than minus 99. So yeah, a larger number is better because it's a negative number. The lower the numeral, the higher the value. So yeah, because they are, and I don't have any clue why. I knew at one point why they did this, but who knows? But RSSIs are indicated in negative numbers, and so you want the lower number. Lower number itself means is a higher value. So I don't know why they do it, and I'm sure somebody does, and they'll post it. But it's just one of those goofy things. Let's see here. We talked about that already. Steve was listening to Warlock. He thinks that's a C-130 doing approach and departures. Kevin is looking at getting a GPS for his SDS-100. It will also work on his 436. And it looks like there's a lot of cords. So would you have to use all the cords?
No. Let's see. So oh boy. Let's see here. Hold on one second. So no, you don't necessarily have to use all the cords. Let me just see if I can pull up. Let me just do this so this is not on camera when I do that. So let me see if I can pull up the
the PDF
the slideshow. Yeah, let me just see. But yeah, I mean, so he's got two different radios that he's asking about GPS.
Yeah, so if he buys this kit, then it'll work with both radios.
And it's got to be this one here. So let's see here. So he's asking about 436. So let's see. I'm going to bring up that slide. We did this slideshow. I don't think it's on. I'm not too sure if it's on YouTube. It could be one of those Facebook ones. It
might have been a Facebook page, yeah.
So 436. So hold on. All right. So 436. Well, it requires some cables. We're going to take a look at this right now. So let's take a look at this as soon as it loads. Look at that. I'm just going to remove your comment, Kevin, so we can kind of see everything. Yeah. So there is everything you need. We're going to go from left to right. So on the left there is the little dongle. That's basically the antenna. And then you can see there's a phone cord. That phone cord would then connect up to the next thing that's in the middle, the little black box. And then the serial cable is going to connect up to the serial connection on the box. And then the other small little adapter is going to connect up to your 436. And then the cigarette lighter adapter, of course, that's going to power the GPS antenna. Right. That's everything you need with the 436, the 396, the 396 T or XT, or the 346, if you still have those.
So now this exact same setup with one change will also work on the SDS 100. So you swap out the serial cable, the one with the big DB9 pin on there, with the one that has the USB pin on it. And you plug that into your SDS 100, and okay, great. There you go. There's the picture of that.
And I have the whole slideshow.
you're on a ball today, Jonathan. I tell you. And that will then work with your SDS 100 and your 325, and it will actually power the radio or charge the batteries when you have that connected. So. That universal kit is all based around that bigger box in the middle that's kind of like the hub. And you're going to use that for all the scanners except for the SDS-200. On the SDS-200, you're going to use the little box and the phone cable plugged directly into the back of the radio. On every other radio, you're going to use that hub, that box in the middle. And the difference basically is going to be what cable connects that box to the radio. So I think there's three cables. There's this one with the USB port. There's the serial cable with the little goofy 4-pin port. And then there's the DB9 to DB9 cable to go into the back of the 536, 996, and BCT 15s.
So you guys, if you've missed this slideshow, we could do this again on YouTube exclusively. Mm-hmm. So just post in the comments if you missed this whole entire thing. We basically went over the GPS kit. This is when it came out. It came out back in February. So we did this presentation. We also went over understanding GPS scanning. We've used some slides from this presentation in later shows, but we would be happy to do this all over again as a later show. We do have a lot of our spots for the rest of the year starting to fill in with shows, but We could easily plug this in if you guys would be interested in Rich and I just covering GPS front to back. We can talk about the kit, give you a full overview. We have slides for every scanner. This is the simplest, involving the dongle and the phone cord for the SDS 200. I mean, we could go over this whole entire slideshow presentation. I mean, it certainly is probably the one that I spent a lot of time working on, because I wanted to be able to, in detail, I'm not too sure how many of you remember this. I'll pull up the slide. Where I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to relay how GPS works. So we did the little circle thing here. We can dive into that a little bit more if you guys want to. But definitely this will be a show worth probably doing again, at least for our YouTube audience, because when it's on Facebook, it just disappears into wherever it does in Facebook land. On YouTube, you can always pull up the video or search it out.
All right. Dave asks at 11 after the second hour, how do you set a priority talk group on a trunking system?
All right. And I'm just looking for his comment. 11 past. There it is right there.
There you go. So on that one, you're going to have to set that up in a favorites list. And when you open up your, create your trunking favorites list, you're going to edit the system, and then you're going to have to edit the channel, and then set that individual channel within the department as a priority. So you edit the system, open up the system, edit the department or the group, depending on what type of scanner you got, and then open up that group, and then edit the individual channel, and then you can set that individual channel to priority. So that way, when you turn the priority mode on, you'll be able to, then it will check that channel on a regular basis for activity when the radio is doing other stuff. You can do the same thing on a conventional channel. It's just that the process of getting to the channel is just a little bit different. But basically, it's just edit the channel, and it only works on favorites lists. Okay, so let's see here. We got a question about using SDS 100 versus a unication for scanning multiple systems. We've talked about this a couple times, and we used to sell the unications. They're great radios, but they're very limited to what you can and can't do with them.
Yeah, typically you're going to monitor. So you have 6 banks on there that you can, not 6, 8, you can scroll to. And you basically want to program in one system per, I believe. That's how I've done it on the radio. Yeah. And it's, so the SDS is going to give you the freedom to be able to do anything you want. The unication radios are a little bit more complicated. It's more like programming a two-way radio. It doesn't affiliate with the towers, but it's in a scanner sense like that. They may be getting simpler. From what I understand, they may actually have import capability from Radio Reference at some point, from what I'm hearing.
Right.
So that'll make unications more of an appeal for the scanner enthusiasts. But if you're looking for a true scanner, SDS 200 is the route to go.
Yeah, and if you want to be able to make changes on the fly, you can do that with an SDS. With the G5, you can't. Now, with that being said, the G5 is still a great radio. It's very small and compact. It works really well. Even with the little dinky antenna that comes with it, works exceedingly well.
I'm surprised with that. It just works awesome.
But again, it's much more expensive than it's about the same cost of an SDS. So, but with an SDS, you're getting the ability to do a whole lot more stuff with it. So if you only need what the SDS or the G5 can do for you, hey, G5 is a great radio, go for it. But if you want to be able to do other stuff, then you're probably better off with the SDS. And just to tell you what happened on that, when we sold a lot of G5s, and then when the SDS came out, the unication sales tanked, and that'll tell you something right there. So, all right. So let's see here. Every time I move the mouse, I lose my place. Chris says he doesn't miss the Nantucket winters, not one bit. So, and apparently there's another hurricane coming up. Zeta is the name. So if you're in
Yeah,
hurricane
there's been
land,
a lot of it's I think it's down in New Orleans right now, and it's gonna curve its way and become a tropical depression, and it's not going to dwell there for too long, from what I was understanding, watching the weather. So it's gonna go through quickly, probably a tropical depression by the time it gets up to me. So I'll get dumped with
have
rain.
you been through a hurricane yet?
I'm nowhere near close to the coast, so it's more like a tropical depression when it comes through here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been through multiple hurricanes growing up in Massachusetts. Hurricane Bob was one of the big ones. Yeah, I mean, like
we were down in Florida when I was a kid, and we had a hurricane come through. It was that was nasty.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Chris says he's going to sell my I voted sticker to me so that I get my free donut.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see here. So Chris at 24 After wrote that it's cool to even listen to the 167 meg POTUS protection channels, even though it's encrypted. You can still hear it. And on the simplex stuff, if you hear it, they're closed. So,
and sometimes, I've heard, not the Secret Service, but I've heard the FBI and things like that run wide open with no encryption just because of reception issues. The encryption kind of junked up things, and they run it wide open. So those frequencies are interesting to monitor. I've also heard, I think I've heard presidential, on some of those channels on the wide open as well, just because of
occasionally
issues.
They do. Yeah. And then there's always TCOM, which is always a great channel to listen to as well. So Les writes at 28 After, what's the best indoor antenna for 700 and 800 megahertz in an apartment? He's on the 8th floor and he can't use the balcony. And I know what Jonathan's going for.
Right here.
There you go.
The Remtronics 45-degree angle. Well, you can do multiple angles, but this is the antenna that I would recommend.
Yeah, I've got mine in here someplace. Here it is. So, that's a great antenna for the back of the set. Mm-hmm. And there's another option as well. The Spectrum Force Mini Mag Mount antenna. It's got a 10 or 12-foot cord on it. So you can put the antenna up on a file cabinet, a refrigerator. When I first moved into this house, I put them on a cake pan on the top of a high bookshelf in my office until my wife was looking for her pans and couldn't find it. She thought we left them in Chicago.
Yeah. And
she was not happy when she found them.
And that's what I'm using for an antenna right here on the outside of the house is just for now, until I can get an antenna, is the Spectrum Force wideband antenna. Speaking of antennas, a question was asked last week about Austin antenna. They are still in business.
We checked on that.
Yes. Yeah, they're still in business, despite, what rumor mill may have said. They're still in business, and I'm thankful for that. They put out some great products. Yeah,
we had just ordered some stuff from them, and they came like the last week. So, they're still very much in stock. So,
and Rich's favorite antenna right here.
No. That's not what that is. An antenna, boys and girls. So we were talking about the GPS. What's in that middle box? Where that GPS kit. So we were talking about that. The little box is the actual receiver. The larger box is, I don't know what they call it. It's the junction box. That's where everything comes together. It connects the power to the GPS to the radio. It's just kind of a junction box. Let's see here.
And there it is again. So
there you go.
Let me get it.
We do have a couple requests to see the GPS show again, so we will put that in our queue of shows.
Okay, cool. So I was just wondering, because I'm not too sure how many of you have joined us after we came on to Facebook on that from Facebook to YouTube full time. So yeah,
Yep.
we'll definitely do that, and that'll be a good one to be able to have on our channel to search. For anybody, what the heck is this? Sorry, just freaking one of those little house things, fly type of things. Problems in the set.
Oh yeah, but hey, you're not going to get this kind of show up and down the dial. I tell you.
Well, I mean, I don't have a dog guest tonight. There's nobody in the
no canine.
No canine in the bed tonight.
So Will asks if I took my desktop scanners out of the stack and put them on the desk. Yeah, very observant.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, I'm moving things around. In fact, this weekend I'm going to make some more changes in the office. So I like to change things. So now I've got my scanners right here in the desk like this because I'm going to be changing some stuff. So I'm going to have a cabinet in the corner, and then my other desk is going to go in the back here. So next week you'll see the big monitor in the back. So
so
so there's going to be some more changes.
Scanner
yeah,
guys.
Well, that way I can put a Scanner Guy's logo on there.
I can send you the thing to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's better than a green screen.
Yeah. So I have it. Where is it?
Okay. If you've got a Unication, it does support radio reference currently, but it's kind of indirectly. So what you can do now is you can save the CSV file from radio reference and then import it into the Unication software. So yeah, you can do it while Jonathan's out chasing flies.
I don't know what that is. One of those little
gnat or something.
Yeah.
You can export from a CSV file and then import it into the Unication software. So it does indirectly, but I have read where they are planning to add direct radio reference import into the software, just like you can with ARC 536 and stuff. You will most likely need a radio reference subscription, paid subscription as well. So Dale has made it to the hotel safe and sound. Congratulations.
So now he's watching us again.
Cool.
Well, you
missed. Can't have a show without Dale.
You missed a lot. We were doing a lot on camera. You missed it.
Well, we were offering free SDS 200s to people in Montana who checked in with us by then, but that unfortunately you're too late. So.
Yeah, we put the coupon code on the screen.
Yeah, and it won't be on the replay. So
yeah. Did you see the temperature? It's 42.
Oh, cool. Well, it's only a few degrees warmer or cooler than it is here in Phoenix right now. So, but apparently the Motorola radios have an RSSI option, so it shows you the signal level. So when I was programming the APXs that we had at work, there was a purple button on the side of the radio. And I had that set up so you press it once and you would see the site number that you were affiliated with, and you did a long press on it, it would show you the signal strength. So, of course, nobody else knew what all that stuff meant, but I did. So I could tell what site we were affiliating with and what the signal strength was by pressing the purple button on the APX radios.
Well, that was kind of good. You could walk somebody through that over the phone.
Yeah.
Like if you had somebody on the field, you could see, just, all right, so press this button, short, then press it long.
And tell me the numbers. So,
yeah.
And the only thing it wouldn't do is really weird on the Motorola radios is it wouldn't tell you the zone. It would only tell you the site number within the zone. So you know how we have like sites 128 and 235 on, the way we call them. So the first number is the zone, and then the second two numbers are the site numbers. It only showed you the site number, it didn't show you the zone. But that's beyond. So Ben likes his Unication. They do a really good job of decoding simulcast systems. Yeah, and that's exactly why the Unications were very popular in the scanner hobby for as long as they were, and they still are still very popular. They do a really good job on simulcast systems, just as good as a two-way radio. It's just that they're more expensive and they're more complicated to operate.
And I have one, and I didn't get to use it very much in Massachusetts because there wasn't a lot of digital. There's tons of digital down here, and I use it all the time. And I love how I have it set up. So if I go down to a certain city or town, I just switch it on the dial, and and I'm listening to them, and I switch it back to the local county. Matter of fact, I need to charge up the radio. I haven't used it in a while.
Yeah. I'm waiting on the phase 2 update for mine since our sheriff's department went phase 2. At 38 after, Ray asked if the SR30C is a good upgrade from the BC75 XLT. Not really.
If you're going to upgrade, 125 AT is the way to go. Spend the extra money, go to the 125 AT. This
$30 extra. You can program channel names. You can program PL tones and DPL codes. If you can't afford a digital scanner, the 125 is your next best thing.
That is my favorite scanner. I will be very brokenhearted if they ever discontinue it.
Yeah, I was very surprised when they came out with the SR30C. Basically, the only difference between that and the 75 XLT is now you've got 500 channels instead of 300 channels. Big deal. Who knows? Who cares? It still doesn't do channel names. It doesn't do all the other stuff that the 125 does. So get the 125, spend the extra $30, and you'll be happier with that. We should do a show on the craziest things we've heard on a scanner.
We would have to run it after 10 o'clock because there is. I lived in a small. I'll actually tell you one of them.
Here we go.
Here we go. Story time. All right. So I lived in a small town in Massachusetts, and one of the police officers was getting some sort of service. He had his legs on the outside of the vehicle, and there was somebody else there, and he was commenting about her chest. And what happened he was there with her. He leaned back on the console and keyed the middle console, the rack, and leaned back on the mic and opened it wide open so everybody could hear about her chest and moaning and groaning and so on. Yeah. And after a while, all the police officers knew who was on the radio, and they started keying over him, so people couldn't make it out. So it was a police officer working the desk. He finally realized that the microphone was keyed open. I guess his entertainment finished. Yes. At that point, and moved forward versus his lean back position. And so the dispatcher, which was also a police officer, went over the radio and called every single unit on there. Wasn't me. Wasn't me. Wasn't me. Was me?
Yeah. Horizontal polarization. Yeah. Yeah. We can spend an entire show on that. That wouldn't be a bad. That would be a pretty good one. We'll have to be very cautious on how that works up.
Yeah, but that was the craziest thing one of the craziest things I've heard on the scanner. Yeah. And mind you, at first, it's an open mic, and you're like, and then you start hearing, things, like about ladies' anatomy and huffing and puffing and all that, and then you're just like, what's going on here?
Okay. Well, we had one once where we had 5 towns on our radio chip, and we never did quite figure out who it was, but somebody was in the washroom sitting down and took off the gun belt, left the radio on there, and the way he positioned it must have keyed the mic, and we heard every plop, plop, piss, 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 piss. So, yeah. We knew he couldn't have been at our station because at our station we had a PA speaker, so you would have heard that on the, you would have heard the feedback.
I would have fed back right away.
So we knew it wasn't one of my guys. So let's move on here.
Do you want one more story? I just thought of another one.
Okay.
This one's not as sexual. I'll put it that way. So the highway department got new radios. This was around the same time the police department got new radios, and it would send off the ID to the dispatcher. So I think that dispatcher knew which radio it was. So the town's DPW department's already got in trouble with the state with dumping things randomly all over the dump, versus putting it all over the place. So I was listening on there, and of course, another open mic. These pesky open mics.
Yeah.
So the guy is saying over the radio, he's talking to the one of the people that came to the dump. Where can I dump XYZ? It doesn't matter. You can dump it effing all of wherever wherever and everything. So he kept going, and from what I understand, from what I've learned from other people in the, from what I heard on the radio, some of the guys were able to key up over him and said, I'm waving at him, telling him he's got an open mic. So it goes on, and eventually he realizes it. So the radio gets silent. And I knew the voice of the head of the highway department. He had this very stern voice.
Yeah.
So it was silent on the radio for a few minutes. And then he says, I can't remember the guy's name. He says, Jack, I want to see you at the Highway Barnes office right now. And that was it. And I know, oh, damn, he's in trouble.
Somebody's in trouble. Hey, Jonathan, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
And turn around and look under the blanket?
There's nothing in there. Hold on.
You sure?
Oh, yeah, I'm positive. Hold on. Oh, there is.
Hello there.
I'm hot.
So Steve and Dottie both saw the head pop up a little while ago.
I get startled her because she's the oldest of the three dogs. And she's gotten really good at burying herself, so I didn't think anybody was there. I literally startled her. Yeah, that's Abby. She's a rat terrier. So
hi, Abby.
She's 14 years old.
Just getting used to the place.
At least I'm wearing pants. Yeah, I got shorts on.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I forget
all right, so
when I'm that far away.
Yeah. Mark has got 30 scanners, so he's trying to catch up to me, and he wants to know what type of combiner or multi-coupler he can use for 30 scanners. So there's been a couple suggestions on here. So if you got that many scanners, obviously you've got a pretty good investment going. So you might want to get some sort of you can get a commercial combiner with a preamp that will allow you to connect all 30 to the same antenna, or you can get you can do in multiple Stridsbergs. I've got two 8-port Stridsbergs and a 4-port connected to a 4. I've got my antenna coming into a 4-port non-amplified Stridsberg, and then going to 3 other amplified Stridsbergs. So 2 16s or 2 8s and a 4, so that cover all 20 scanners on one scanner antenna. Stridsberg now makes a 16-port splitter. So you can put 16 on one Stridsberg, but they're very expensive. For something like that, though, you're probably better off with a 24 or larger. You can get custom multi-coupler, basically a multi-coupler or a combiner with a preamp to make your own multi-coupler. So yeah, there's ways you can do it. Multiple Stridsbergs. Which is the easy way to do it, which I did because I happen to have them. Or you can do some sort of a customized, a solution for that. Joe said if you need 32, you get 4 8-ports and a 1 4-port with the 4-port feeding the 4 8-ports, which is exactly what I do. And you can do 4 You can do the other way. So remember, you're going to have one input, and if you're going to multiple outputs, you can multiply that. But Stridsberg recommends that you use a non-amplified splitter to go into amplified multicouplers if you want to combine them. So that's what I did. Let's see here. There's a lot of open mic stories out there. We all have them if you've been in the business.
Yeah.
And we can probably, like I say, spend an entire evening.
I can
talk about that.
I mean, just think back to some of the high speed chases I've heard.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just the antics of things that I mean, there's one particular high speed chase that I heard was, but yeah, I'll save it. Hopefully I remember it when we do. We'll have to collect some of your stories out there. And then we could definitely, we'll protect the names and the departments of the innocent.
Yeah. So there's a lot of them, and nowadays it's since so many radios have radio IDs on them these days, it's going to be a little less goofing around, and more of those things are going to be inadvertent than
the
than anything else.
The good old accidentals.
Like Duranimals mark at 50 after. My partner's teeth matched the scars on his head. I've heard that from a canine officer.
Oh, jeez.
There's usually a mic hanger. Make sure you use it. Question comes up for you. What railroad logo is on that behind you, Jonathan?
Yes, that's the Virginia Railways, which is my first heritage unit for Norfolk Southern. So it certainly holds a special place with me. So I put something on it. I'm actually going to start building buildings for the layout behind me on this side. I have my layout here. I have one of my dogs over there, which we discovered was actually there.
It was actually there.
It's actually there. And of course, I have my, on display behind me, I have my SDS 200. 100.
Right.
The 200's in front of me.
Yeah. So, I've got a couple radios and stuff here. So
I got a couple here, but you can't see them. They're in front of me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all righty. So we should do a show revealing the content of radio okay. Oh, would a show revealing the content of radio transmissions violate the ECPA and the Radio Communications Act? Or so in general, since on a lot of my stories, I was a party to the communication, so no for a lot of my stuff. But if it's just something you heard on the scanner that you weren't a party to, technically it was, but it might be. But in a general sense, it's not a big deal. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not giving away the departments or anything. I mean, I could have gave more details. I know that the person that was a lieutenant. Was getting the action in the cruiser or patrol car.
Yeah, and he's no longer a lieutenant. Of course, after that show, he may have gotten promoted. So. It depends on who his friend was.
Yes. Oh God.
So let's see here. Now, technically, if you want to go by the letter of the law, discussing the existence of a communication that you weren't a party to is technically illegal, by the Communications Act of 1934. The problem is what the deal with that is, though. At this point, it's not hurting anybody. There's no victim to it. It's like driving 3 miles above the speed limit. You're not going to get a ticket for going 3 miles over the limit, at least not around here.
Yeah. There was no victim in that other than it being heard by all of us.
Everybody had permission to do, or not permission, but everybody was consented to do what they were doing. Not that they should have been doing it, but or at least not that particular time. Follow up to our multi-coupler discussion from a few minutes ago. Chris at 56 wrote that daisy chaining amplified multi-couplers also amplifies the noise twice. So yeah, exactly. So that's why on my multi-coupler setup up there, I have an unamplified Stridsberg going to 3 amplified Stridsbergs, and then those amplified ones all go out to radios. So the signals are only amplified once from 3 different couplers, but each signal is only amplified once. Kevin says he needs to go and see the 611 in action. The 611 is a fantastic, beautiful steam engine with that bullet nose.
Yeah, and it's currently it's been at the North Carolina Transportation Museum, and it's been sitting there for quite a while. Just because of all the COVID stuff. They haven't done anything with it. So it will be operating this weekend. I'm sure some buffoon will post on the Heritage Unit app that it's in movement. That drives me insane. When it's in movement at the museum.
Yeah. It's going from one side of the museum to the other.
Yeah. Like even my wife at this point is like, what do you bet somebody's going to post on? Even she's making jokes about it. What do you bet somebody's going to post it? It's in the move. Yeah, from one end to
another. Dale writes, when you're mooing at cows, make sure you grab the PA mic and not the radio mic. Because the radio traffic recorded. Been there, done that. Got the note in my file to prove it, too. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I love hearing that.
Oh, so yeah. When you're making mooing at cows, and I've done that, and I did grab the wrong microphone. We had 3 microphones in our cars, and then later on we had 4. And we put the digital radios in there. So I had the VHF mic, the UHF mic, the PA mic, and then later on the 800 mic. I got all these mics. You grabbed the wrong one. I used to do that all the time. They all look the same.
Yeah.
We actually went out and bought red microphones for the VHF radios. And back in the old days, some of our old Illinois people will remember when the state provided what we called ISPERN radios, state radios for the state mutual aid channel. They came with red microphones, so you knew that was the state radio. Well, later on, when we started buying our own radios and stuff, we couldn't get those red mics anymore. So I actually went out and I found a part number for red microphones that worked on our radios. And we actually, so that way we could tell that the white microphones were for our dispatch radio and the red microphones were for our VHF radios. And that worked out really well for a while.
Too many mics.
Okay. So, Jonathan, do you know where your SDS 100 and your dog is?
Well, the 100 is right here, and one of the dogs is there, and the other 2 are in the other part of the house. And
remember that when you lost your SDS 100?
Oh my word! I was
you were panic mode.
I was like, oh my God! I left the and I have it relatively close to me. I have I have it close to me. It's in the case. I know where my batteries are. I have extra batteries.
So now you know where it's at.
Yeah.
Mark asks a question. Can a ham radio operator have a scanner in the car? He's got a scanner in his car for 10 years. So that depends on the state. So most states, they don't have any rules one way or the other. So, but if you're in Indiana, Minnesota, New York, Kentucky, and Florida are the ones that I'm aware of. Make sure that you check the laws for your state because those states have restrictions. Some of them, if you have a ham radio license, you're exempt. Other ones require you to have a permit signed by a sheriff or a police chief. So check the laws in your state, especially if you're in one of those states. Kevin, when he was in Roanoke, he was not able to get to the museum. So was it closed at certain times?
Yeah, I'm guessing during the COVID, a lot of the museums were closed. So basically, the 611 belongs to the Roanoke Museum. And so it spends time in between the two museums. I think they worked out a deal because it was, when they did the overhaul on 611,
Yeah.
it was all done here in North Carolina. So that's probably the deal is, it spends
Yeah.
some of the time here and spends some of the time there. I mean, they've been running a whole bunch of different fundraisers. You can get behind the throttle and operate 611. It's $611.
Cool.
But
That's worth it.
but the money goes to good cause because it's basically maintaining that locomotive.
Yeah, and it's probably tax exempt or tax deductible too. Then too.
Yeah, during my what was it for my birthday? I didn't end up operating 611, but I ended up operating a steam locomotive, and I was the first one in the morning. And I got to operate it a lot long. The good thing about it is I was the first one in the morning, and I was able to operate it a little bit longer than everybody else of the day, which is great. So I went back and forth on one of the lines at the museum, and that was a lot of fun. Just to be able to have your hand behind the throttle, that was really cool. A steam engine, but it wasn't 611, but I was still thrilled about it.
Well, years ago, Ted and I went on a trip downstate to a conference, and on the way, we stopped at the Railroad Museum in Monticello, Illinois. And they have an FPA4 there, and they have a thing called throttle time, and you can pay an extra. I think it was less than $30 or $40 a person, and ride the cab of the locomotive. And Ted had never been in a locomotive before in his life, so I gave that to him as a gift, and he loved it, absolutely loved it. So, all right, so we got a couple of viewer pictures. You want to go into those?
Yeah, definitely. So let's. I've got the slideshow switched back to tonight's presentation. So we'll save the rest of the GPS. I mean, that was a really good presentation. So we'll definitely fill that in. So Gene L, look at this. I mean, I like his setup here. He's got a whole bunch of radios. Look at him. He's got two SDS 200s. He's
and a 100. Yeah. Yep. And he's also got a 536 and looks like a 15X.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a Motorola, a TYT, and looks like an AR 8200 there.
Yeah, what a nice setup.
Yeah, great setup. And we were talking about these Regencies last week. This is the executive version of the 1970s vintage Regency scanners. I had this exact scanner, was my first scanner, but it was the mobile version, which was the TMR8. It was basically the same radio, but in a little bit smaller package, smaller speaker, and such. But this was the desktop version of the executive scanner, and these were great scanners back in the days.
Yeah, it looks really good. Look at this. And I had one of these mag mounts. It's the square mag mount. And this is from Donnie D. Donnie uses the mag mount antenna on his freezer chest, and it works great.
Yeah, that's the Larson. I had a couple of those. Those were very popular NMO mounts. They're kind of big, but they were very popular. And I see a lot of hams with those. And mag mount antennas work great for scanners, especially if you're inside and you can't put an outside antenna.
That's for sure. And then Richard I sent us these classic scanner boxes. Looks like we've got some Uniden, and then we have Radio Shack, and then there's one way over to the right, the Pro 21A.
Yeah. Oh, that's an oldie.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's pretty cool to have the boxes. Let me, I'll put this so it's full screen so you can kind of see. But, it's really cool to have the scanners and actually have the original boxes that they came in, especially on that Pro 21A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was an old antenna back in the day, or an old scanner back in the day. But, I mean, back in the day, it was a great scanner, but, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, let's continue on here. Chris sent us a photo of all of his patches, which is really cool. He's got several of them on his bulletin board there. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Yeah, I recognize a couple of those. LA 51, that's from Emergency. And Lake County Sheriff, I used to live in Lake County. That was in Illinois. And was it Marquette County Sheriff? That's up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. LA Fire, State Police in Michigan, San Francisco. So, yeah, he's got a pretty good collection there going, Chris.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. If you want to send us photos, you can send them directly to thescannerguys@gmail.com is our email address, thescannerguys@gmail.com. Actually, I can put that up on our screen right there. So
cool.
There we go. Is there any other questions before we wrap up things this evening?
We got one more picture, I think.
Let me just take a look. Hold on 1 second. We'll switch it back over. Yes. Oh, yes. I wanted to show this because we talked about this in a few broadcasts ago. So Mark up in Maine, he leases his trucks and he has the seat bolt mount for his Home Patrol 2, which is an awesome setup. Mark, if you're still watching this evening, thank you so much for sending us these photos. I mean, it's a really cool setup. He's got a speaker there. He's got the Home Patrol 2. I mean, it's nice and neat. And the other thing too, when he sells or when he trades in his vehicle, it's easy to undo, and then you can go from one vehicle to another with this.
Yeah, no holes. Just take the bolt off for the seat, put the mount on there, and put the bolt back on, and then just reverse that. It takes you about 5 minutes to take it out of the car. Probably take you longer to pull the wires than it does to take the thing. And you notice he's practicing safe scanning too.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He's got his mask there.
Oh yeah, right there. I saw the mask. I think that could be some hand sanitizer that's just above it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. So, yep. Like you vote in Chicago, mask often and mask early. So, yep. We do have one more comment. Joe said that it might or might not be tax deductible. If you're getting something for it, there might be, so check with your tax attorney before you determine whether or not it's tax deductible or not. But if it's considered a charitable donation, those are generally tax deductible. But if you're getting something in return, that might affect it. So check with your tax attorney before you deduct something like that.
And make sure you pay attention to the disclaimer. Joe is not a tax attorney.
And neither am I. But I play one on TV.
I'm not as well.
Dale says he's got 4 of those Larson mag mounts, a couple of them in NMO and then NLA, which is another mounting style. So, those square Larson mounts are very popular.
I had one of those, and I was using a two-way radio antenna when I was working in Boston as a traffic manager. I would communicate on their frequency and traffic.
Yeah, I think everybody's had one of those mount systems. I think they're almost ubiquitous in the ham radio hobby. So you see them at every ham fest. Have you ever been to the Buford Pusser Museum? Who's Buford Pusser?
I haven't been, and I'll have to check that out now that I'm not too far away from Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, I've been to Pigeon Forge. That's where Dollywood is, but or Buford Pusser or whatever.
What's that? You better stop saying it before it comes out something else.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know who it is. I hope that it's not something. Oh, wait a minute. There was a movie. What was it? Walking Small or Walking Tall? Walking Tall. There you go. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, Walking Tall. That's right. He was like a sheriff or a police officer that was fighting the bad guys in a movie. That's what it was. So, Tony asks what scanner we like best, the SDS or the 436. So,
I have both. I don't have the 436 right in arm's reach. I don't think.
Yeah, I've got both. The 436 is a great scanner, but it doesn't do particularly well on simulcast, which is the big advantage to the SDS. it's got a black and white display versus the colored display. One big advantage to the 436 is that it's thinner. You don't have the Kardashian bump like you do on the. See if I can get a good shot of that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And it, with the black and white display, and it uses AA batteries, which makes it very easy to change the batteries out. So, if you don't need simulcast, performance, the simulcast performance of the SDS, the 436 is a worthy competitor at about $150 less as well. So,
every time, we're going to talk about that in a second, but every time that you take the door off of one of those batteries, off of the scanners, it makes me laugh. Because that one time you displayed your telephone number.
So, for those who haven't seen that, I have a label inside my handheld scanners and two-way radios that has my name and phone number on there. So that if it ever gets lost, hopefully somebody will see that. And we were on live one night, and I took the batteries out to show how the SD card out, and it was like this, and there's my name and phone number right there. So, oh, jeez, yeah. Oh, like I say, hey, this is live. Yeah. So it's it's 7:15 in Phoenix, and
it's 10:16 right here on the East Coast. So, so there's more about that movie that you were talking about. Walking.
Oh yeah, true story of Sheriff Buford Pusser, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't get a chance to see that stuff, but. It's and apparently he must be popular because he's got his own museum.
Yep, and Joe makes a good point, and that's where mine is. My name and telephone number are on the startup screen of all the scanners. Actually, with these radios, with the SDS, it not only has my name, my telephone number, and my address. So they know where to ship it in case it ends up.
I do have that. Yeah. I do have my name and phone number on the startup. Yeah. So, here, let me show you that as I started up here. So. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's
absolutely. And the other thing too is one of the things they used to tell you is when you buy a car, you put one of your business cards, slide it into through the door window, and so it's in that empty area inside a car. I don't know why they would suggest you do that, because number one, a business card isn't going to last because it's going to get wet because water is going to get in there. So, my cables are showing. So, my antenna cables for my background. Actually, next weekend, that's going to change a little bit. So, I finally ordered this week. They should arrive tomorrow. 1.5-inch white split loom. So, because I've got some wires that go to my desk, and I'm going to be moving the other desk in back of me. So so that's going to change a little bit. So you won't see that mess next week. I hate seeing wires.
That's not that messy. The picture
I know, but
did you see the picture I posted on the Scanner Guys Facebook page?
Oh, which one? Oh, the wires everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dale commented on it. I put in the subject line something about one of the wires not working, and then Dale commented, "It's one of the red ones," and of course, there's a million red ones.
Yeah, a million red ones. Well, if you ever seen some of the pictures of the inside of my cabinet, it's a lot messier inside the cabinet, but you don't see.
Nobody sees it.
Yeah. And the wife likes it because you can't see the wires, which is much more. I still do have the clock, just to have the cabinet up there. So clock is still there,
nice and big.
Yeah. So it is still up there. I can still just take a peek at it, but it's just that you don't see it in this particular shot. So I'm moving my studio around.
Yeah.
All righty. So that's the end of the questions here. So I think we're ready to rock and roll here, buddy.
All right. So next week's broadcast is Wednesday, November the 4th, which is the day after Election Day, which should be interesting. I'll just say that. The Uniden Sentinel software overview. So we're going to be doing a lot of screen sharing on that show, kind of giving you an overview of the Sentinel software. That'll be Wednesday, November 4th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And guess what? We're in a new month. So you know what that means? 2 shows. 1 week.
Yes.
And we got to work on that slideshow. I just haven't started.
Yeah, unfortunately, my slides have not returned yet. I did get an update on them, but they're not going to be available for this show. So December, yes.
So we'll probably end up doing a lot on movies. So Rich and I are going to have a little bit of a discussion about movies that involve trains. I was able to watch a couple last weekend that I have. Just to refresh myself on them. We'll talk about them in more detail during the Train Aficionado live show. We also have an update on a building that we featured in our first broadcast that's in Kannapolis, North Carolina, that we were talking about. Well, it's not a cool story. Unfortunately, they tore it down. They're in the process. They started tearing it down this week, but we'll definitely talk about that a little bit. Train Aficionado live Monday, November 2nd, 2020, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll get that live link set up shortly after the broadcast, or either I'll do it tomorrow, so it'll be sitting there. I'll also post that live link to the Scanner Master and Scanner Guys page. And this show is right before Election Day. So it'll be a busy week for us. Rich and I will be live on Monday on the Train Aficionado Facebook page, and then live again on the Scanner Guys page on Wednesday. So busy week. So make sure you definitely tune in. And as always, we want to remind you to follow, like, and subscribe to all of the social media. So first of all, the Train Aficionado social media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. At Train Aficionado, and then trainaficionado.com is the website, so you can check that out. I've got a lot of work to do. I got to do some blog entries on there, which I haven't had a lot of time. Hopefully, if we're going to get all this rain that they're saying, I might have some time this weekend. Follow, like, and subscribe, of course, to the Scanner Master social media. That is on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Scanner Master Co. They are the sponsor of the Scanner Guys Live with myself and Rich Carlson. And don't forget Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram for the Scanner Guys on our very own social media. And guess what? Make sure you hit subscribe to our channel right now. We're almost at 1,000. So let's see if we can get to 1,000 before November. So if you're watching us on the replay or anything and you haven't hit the subscribe, or you're watching us live right now, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Do it now. And also make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications.
Yes, make sure you do all that and more. So that should wrap it up. So next week, we will have the big reveal, probably Monday night, if you're curious about Rich's changes in the studio. And then, of course, when we're talking scanners on Wednesday night, we can kind of dive into the move a little bit more. Yeah. We hope that you guys join us then. And we thank you so much for joining us each and every week. And we're excited about the whole mess of programming for the month of November and December. It's going to be a busy month. We actually have Phil from the Scanner School. We have a tentative date for him joining us in December, so he's going to come back and talk to us. So we're currently probably going to be looking for maybe a guest for November. I know he's scheduled possibly for December, so we might have another guest show coming up soon, and we have lots of great shows coming up, so make sure you tune in. Anything else you want to add, Rich?
Well, I'm going to have a lot of work moving my stuff around this weekend. And that's going to be pretty much it for here.
All right. So I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
And I thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.
I guess.
Bye-bye.